Hello, and welcome to Shady Business, a podcast dedicated to commentary on scams that live on the internet. I am your host, Maja, and I'm here to guide you through all things scam. Take a drink, and let's guide you on this world of adventure. All right, so car insurance, we all have it, unless, you don't have a car.
Like, who are you talking about?
Right, if you don't have car insurance, you're probably not complying with the law because you have to have car insurance if you have a car.
Someone said that or something like that.
Something like that,
Yeah.
supposedly, allegedly. But if you do have to have car insurance, you want to kind of know what you're dealing with, right? You want to know if they're actually spending money on your claims or if they're just spending money on advertising and marketing, just like Allstate, just like Progressive. Ooh, that's just a couple that we're going to be talking about. Disclaimer, I do have Progressive. I recently switched to Progressive because I wanted to save some more money. I had a rough year in 2020. It was not a good time. I'm pretty sure none of us had a good time that year. And I happened to get into two minor incidences.
Minor.
One was at a four-way stop, and then the other one was a personal. It was just not a good time. So, but they offered a really good rate, so I went ahead and clicked on them and bought it, and so far so good.
Okay.
I am in a claim right now, though.
Ooh.
Yeah, my sunroof exploded on my RAV4.
Yeah, why did that happen? What did you do?
Dude, I didn't do anything. I was driving my cute little butt from Nampa to Caldwell, going to a shoot, and it was around 3:30. There was nobody out except maybe like one or two little four-door sedans, one truck, no semis, no construction, no anything.
Okay.
Just driving down there, and all of a sudden, pop, crash, bang. Yeah, it was scary. The inside cover was closed, like the one that, you pull to not have light come through.
Right.
Well, I had that closed, so thank goodness, or glass would have like gone down and shattered and scraped me and whatever. But yeah, it just exploded, whatever. Yeah. I went to the Maverick right there and I looked at it. I was like, oh my God, couldn't find anything like that broke through.
So let's talk about that real quick, though,
Yeah.
because I would say that I've met a lot of people, and
He's met a lot of people.
I've met a lot of people that have gone through what you just kind of talked about, which is like having something happen to their car and it's kind of unexplainable.
Yeah.
You can't really put your finger on it. And then the first thing that you're worried about, like, is this covered?
Yes. Oh my gosh. That was the first thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, are they going to actually cover it?
So the first thing came to your mind, were you worried did you know in confidence that it was covered, or did you not know?
Well, I would, so my car is under a year old.
Okay.
So I was hoping it would be warranty. It's not, by the way. No glasses.
So just because you had a new car and it was pretty, you would assume limited warranty or some sort of warranty within the time frame that you bought it. So you're like, I feel like a lot of people go through this too, is that they're like, oh, well, this is a brand new car, so it has to be covered, right?
Yeah, that's
like
what I thought.
A tire might go out or something with the engine might go out, and you're like,
well, actually, the engine would probably get covered under the warranty. It's anything. I learned about this because we're in the future now. This is in the past. I've dealt with this. We're done. But apparently anything that like bodily happens from the environment to your car is not covered. It's just from the car itself if it happens to break.
And how did you learn that?
I talked to Toyota.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. I guess to kind of close. Are
they lying?
No, to close that detail is that like Maja is explaining something that a lot of people don't do, which is know their car policies or their insurance policies. And I do not like insurance companies, but I will tell people right now that like you have to read what you're getting into. True. And you have to be able to understand, read your policies and know whether it's covered or not. And that's really sometimes all it takes. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't read things that we sign.
No. So it wasn't under warranty, but it was covered by my car insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a deductible. So it's going to get retro paid. Hopefully. I'm going through that right now. But we'll see if they actually pay out.
Yeah.
We'll see. That's
What is,
it.
what's State Farm slogan? They're like,
State Farm replaced.
no, but are they the one that's always talks about there's,
That's the one with like all the weird things that could potentially happen, right?
yeah,
The
they're like,
bureau.
that's covered or
Yeah.
whatever.
You got a freak snake that slithered into your car and broke all your windows. It's covered. I don't know. It's not covered. I don't know.
It reminds me of the old saying that there's an app for that. Like there's an app for that. So I've dealt with insurance carriers from Progressive, General, Farmers, Travelers
Shop
Insurance.
around.
I've had to shop around and I've had experiences with many of them that I'm not very fond of. A long story short, I think the most recent experience that we dealt with insurance was when we were working with Travelers and the General. And both of them have yet to resolve the issue, unfortunately. And if they do end up catching wind of this in any sort of way, I hope they look into it and they realize that, yeah, I don't think what was done at the end or hasn't been done is very fair, but what's fair in life, right?
Truly.
Long story short, I had bought a car when I first moved to Idaho and I put down a pretty big down payment just to be able to get it. I was really happy. I saved up all that money and it was a bigger car so that way I could drive myself around. My friends could borrow it. I have 2 kids of my own. I wanted to be able to like just carry everyone in it. So I found this great car, got it at a buy now, pay later place. Don't buy cars from there. If you really need to, do it, but just be very careful.
That's what they're there for.
Yeah, that's what they're there for. They're not meant for if you're financially able to get a vehicle. It's just more of if you can't and you need a place that will offer you one. So long story short, I went to a buy now, pay later place and I ended up getting a vehicle. And this is where I guess where it is my fault in terms of I didn't buy gap insurance because it was a very old used vehicle. I had put down a big payment on the car and the payments that were left over weren't that big, excuse me. So I was just, I guess, assuming the best situation would have happened, which is nothing was going to go wrong. But when you assume that, that's when things typically go wrong.
It's true. It's true.
And within 25 days, I think our first payment was coming up about in the next 5 days. I was working downtown and we ended up parking our car downtown over by just the street parking in downtown Boise. And I came out from work one day and the car was completely totaled. A drunk driver had ran into my car, into somebody else's car while also totaling his. So there's about 3 cars that got messed up. Long story short, the car ended up getting paid off. Never got any money back for the down payment. And I ended up losing the vehicle itself and we were left without a car. And it was probably one of the most frustrating things because the Geico at the end of the day wasn't willing to accept responsibility from their driver, or not Geico. The General wasn't willing to accept responsibility from their driver. There was a court case that was supposed to happen. The guy ended up not showing up. He didn't go to the court case. And now the insurance companies are arguing with one another because they can't put blame on one person or the other. Right. Even though the guy was clearly drunk and hit the vehicles, they still don't want to accept responsibility. So just the fact that there are companies that are meant to protect you, and they're willing to do anything they can to not pay out is a very, very frustrating thing to deal with. And it's a very, I would say, shady thing to do.
Oh, yeah. Especially when it's like these sensitive events that are basically inevitable. There will be an accident sooner or later. Yeah. Someone will be distracted. Someone will be inebriated. Something is going to happen because we're not perfect. Nobody is.
Yeah.
And so these companies, this idea of insurance that was created so that there was a coverage, that there was a third party that would be able to delegate funds and all that sort of thing, it kind of feels parasitic, almost like they're kind of feeding upon what is inevitable.
Yep.
And they're going about it in a way where they're like making characters out of it. They're making these slogans and it's a manufactured product at this point. It's like who can have the catchiest jingle, who can have the most recognizable person face their insurance company. But all that just says that they're spending more money on marketing versus on you. And that's where we're going to be going over the numbers and seeing where exactly the money is flowing, where exactly you should be going to. Because, I mean, yes, there are the slogans are catchy, the characters are catchy, but that's the shady part of it. That's the trick.
We picked a list of companies that after Maya and I did some research, found a list of companies, and we're going to be essentially ranking them based off of the amount of marketing spend annually that they have. And as Maya said earlier in the episode, a little disclaimer, and I'm going to read this to you guys, is that Maya and I are not advising you guys to pick someone or to select a specific insurance company. Neither of us work for insurance companies, and we have our own personal experiences and opinions about insurance. But all we are doing is sharing research that we've collected based off of what's available on the internet and that we have access to. And we truly believe that if you guys don't have the time to do the research, or if you guys wanted this information, you can obviously watch this podcast so you can get it from us. But again, we are just collecting information that's already available on the internet and hoping that the more information you guys have, the better decisions you can make.
Let's talk about the General.
Oh, the General. The General. Shaq, if you're listening,
get out, man.
Get out now. You're screwed, man. You're about to be on the hook for all these claims that you aren't paying out.
Just keep the DJ career. What's happening with that? Just stick with that. Just omit the insurance, man. You're got it going on. Come on.
Okay, so the General, minus my personal experience with the General, they suck. I'm sorry, they do. You guys have a lot going on. You guys got a lot of moving parts, and you specifically are meant to insure high-risk drivers.
Yes, that is their niche.
That is the specific niche that they cover, i.e. my incident. I'm pretty sure the guy that hit us, I wish I could just say his name. I'm pretty sure the guy that hit us had like either multiple DUIs already, and he was already like at the verge of like not being able to get insurance or have his license. And that car that he hit us with, I think, was also a rental.
Oh, yes. And then, so apparently, allegedly, they spend about $150 to $200 million, both digital and traditional advertising, with Shaq O'Neal being the number one spokesperson. Now, why is that the only reason that you did go with the General then?
No. So the thing that I was looking at was the fact that the General has to lean into more, and we read about this a little bit. The reason why they use Shaq as their spokesperson is because they wanted to create something that people could relate to, or that people felt like they could lean into a little bit. And the company's idea was, hey, let's get an NBA celebrity.
Yeah.
And let's make him relatable to everybody.
I mean, yeah, NBA games, basketball, it's a very like, it's a very popular sport. People watch it. So I guess yeah.
Well, the problem at the end of the day is how much they're spending on marketing versus how much is essentially getting paid out. And I would say also how satisfied a lot of customers are. But this list specifically we are ranking them based off of how much they spend annually, and from the information that we collected, how they are as a service provider in correlation to their spend. So I would assume, and I think people can kind of jump to kind of a conclusion that if they have the money, they must be doing something right.
Right. So at least, it's probably like a volume thing.
Well, and that's the thing, is that even if they do have the money, it doesn't mean they're always doing something right, but this is an example of what they're using their money for.
Right.
So I think Maya already said it, but the General, we put it around number 9 or 10 in spending. And right now the General is spending anywhere between 150 to 200 million annually in what Maya said, digital and traditional advertising methods.
Yeah.
Shaq started back in 2016 and earns about 2.2 to 5 million annually based off his partnerships. And like we said before, the General targets high-risk drivers and uses Shaq as a way for consumers to feel more comfortable with them. Doesn't mean you're going to get the best coverage or the best payouts, but you might get an affordable rate.
Yeah.
And
for all those reasons, the General's in the F tier.
Yeah. I wouldn't advise to go with the General unless you're in a situation where it's your only option.
So now, let's go to the D tier.
Okay, let's do it.
So I want to actually talk about Liberty Mutual.
Yeah,
I
please.
had Liberty Mutual.
Let's hear it.
And they helped. They did pay out. They did all the things that they were supposed to do. But at the same time, I feel like my rates were always extremely high. Like it seemed very high. And now I'll tell you the expenditure for their marketing. So for Liberty Mutual, they spent between $800 million and $1 billion a year for their little TV advertisements, most popular is the Limu Emu, which is a highly visible strategy. They have a unique narrative to stand out in that regard because they use a very quirky approach. And so you see a lot of their commercials on there. They have the Liberty Bibberty guy and that whole arc. I think I have somewhere in here where, no, the Liberty Bibberty guy, he did not disclose his annual income online, so I couldn't find it anywhere. He was like the only one that we couldn't find. But I mean, based off of the numbers from Liberty Mutual on the 800 to 1 billion, I mean, man, that's a lot.
It's a lot. And
for what?
Well, kind of what you just said, though, Maja, is that we can't really argue that their marketing efforts aren't working.
That's true. That is true.
It's just a matter of how satisfied customers are and how they're being taken care of. And just because we're ranking people off of marketing spend doesn't mean everybody that spends money is shady or we don't like them. But you do have to look. Like a big problem I've always heard people talking about is the price of insurance, how much it genuinely costs.
Yeah.
And if the cost that you're paying is to pay for or is like part of their marketing budget.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Because that's what I felt like when I looked into the numbers. I was like, wow, I did not have any sort of record before I got them. And then when I got them,
Yeah.
I got through the whatevers. But I was a safe driver. I've never, this is my little flex on you. I've never been pulled over ever for anything.
Really?
I've only ever had that incident, but I've never been pulled over for speeding, never been pulled over for a wrong turn, an illegal U-turn, anything, nothing. So I had the perfect record and still I think I was paying, I want to say $600 for 6 months, $700 for 6 months. And now I'm paying $400 for 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you pay it all up front?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you get any discount for that?
Yeah.
You do a little bit?
Yeah.
And this is Liberty Mutual, right?
The Liberty Mutual.
Did we cover their annual spending?
Yes.
Okay.
So next.
Well, so Liberty Mutual is going in the D tier.
Yes.
Correct.
Liberty Mutual goes D.
And I think we don't actually have to mention the numbers since we're doing the letter ranking.
Yes.
Yeah. So Liberty Mutual D tier. Let me read these for Liberty Mutual real quick, so that way we have these.
Mm-hmm.
It's marketing spend, strategy, and fun fact real quick. So you said how much they spend every year annually? 800 million to 1 billion a year. That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And a little detail on their marketing strategy. Maja was saying this, but their only pay for what you need campaign is built around providing customizable policies, and the ads often feature the Statue of Liberty as a visual element to reinforce their brand identity, which is a pretty good move for the American people, I would say, if it really reinforces the U.S. kind of the proud American kind of ideology.
Right.
Like it makes you like, okay, I want to be a part of that.
Do you think, obviously they do it on purpose. They kind of take that imagery, the patriotic feelings of but I've always wondered why it is that that's what car insurance companies cling to. I wonder if it's like that whole I think it's ethos
or pathos versus ethos.
Yeah. Is it what is it called? The person of credibility, or is it something like that?
So I think and you might correct me if I'm wrong, I think what you're bringing up is them working on human emotion.
Yeah.
So in marketing, that's the two approaches are hedonic versus utilitarian marketing styles. And hedonic is when you try to sell laundry detergent, but you make a commercial about how your kids should always have clean clothes and what that does to them. And grandma's doing the laundry and families are united because you have clean laundry.
Yeah.
That's a hedonic marketing approach. And so Liberty Mutual and insurance companies, they have to get you excited about insurance. They have to get you to want to have an emotional response when it goes to, I'm proud to be a Liberty Mutual customer, or USAA, where they're going for the veterans. And
yes, they have that specific market too.
Yeah. So they're trying to yank on the human emotion aspect. And sometimes people forget that. It's at the end of the day, it's a product and a service, and you're just buying up based off how you feel.
I wonder if people would how people would feel if they if they recognize that the car insurance companies, they're all basically the same, but they're just picking a different audience. Like how, like if they understood that, I wonder if that would change the playing field of the supply and demand of car insurance.
I think it would, because then you wouldn't be able to really necessarily bank on the fact that people are emotionally invested. People would start to move to more of a logical or technical deal selection. Like,
do you think that then the companies would be forced to kind of like maybe front numbers instead of flow from Progressive?
Well, actually, you brought up a really good point and a good idea, because I'm pretty sure back in the days when marketing was like in the early 90s and 80s, there was a lot of regulation. Oh, hold on, the heck.
Oh no.
I don't know why that just happened. There was a lot of regulations about how you can market and what you can say. And this is a big problem with kids, how companies were to create certain imagery or create certain messaging focused around either the parents or the children. And you can't do that. There's a lot of advertising rules in place right now that don't let you market specifically towards children in certain styles or manners, right? So if they were to put a legislation in where it's like car insurance companies aren't allowed to embed how do you say this? Because obviously there's emotion behind everything that you're doing when you're making a decision. But like if the marketing was kind of regulated to the point where you can't convince people to buy something based off of emotion and you have to be able to do it off of a factual level, I think that would force the companies to like actually show numbers, be logical, show like the results of their payouts. And then people will be like, okay, well, you can't convince me to buy it because it's the next best thing or it's humorous, but it's actually just not a good deal.
Yeah.
Like
so,
you have to give the consumers a fair shot.
Yes.
You can't keep deceiving people and convincing them to buy something when you know it's not the best deal or it's the best thing from them. And I feel like they're doing that right now. Allstate is spending around an annual marketing budget of around $500 to $600 million a year.
Oh my God.
And that's a lot of money. That's a lot of dough.
Wow.
Their marketing strategy is focused around the Mayhem campaign, right? The Mayhem campaign is a significant part of their marketing, focusing on the unpredictability of life and the need for insurance. The character Mayhem causes accidents to illustrate how unpredictable events can lead to costly damages. Quick fun fact about Allstate: their "You're in good hands" slogan has been in use since the 1950s, and giving them one of the longest standing brand taglines in the industry.
Holy mother.
So if you know Allstate, there's a reason. They've done a very good job of sticking around and sticking to their message and what their brand is.
Yes. And I mean, from all the consumer reports that we've kind of gone over, it seems like Allstate does do some good. They have some recognition, but that's probably because they've been around for so long.
Right. And with how long they've been around, the one thing that you have to keep in mind and consideration, and Maya and I had to do this when we were doing our research, is like how big their pool of clientele is compared to the payouts that they do. Because obviously a car insurance company with a larger pool of people, more submissions in terms of claims, are going to have a higher amount of payouts versus somebody that doesn't have as much.
Or they might even omit states because they don't serve those states, like Alaska and Hawaii.
Yes.
Which that's what we found out in some of our research. I did not know this, but apparently there are some insurance companies that will not cover certain states because of like the prone of accidents or prone of natural disaster.
100%.
And I mean, it seems very obvious, but like I personally didn't even think of that.
Yeah. And the interesting part too is that Allstate has been going so well that they have stuck to their traditional like TV advertising. They do some they do quite a bit of digital advertising in like the Snapchat, Instagram, social media space, but they continue to dominate TV's advertising spend just based off of the credibility that they already established and how long they've been around.
Do you think as Generation Alpha is rising and, you know, growing older, do you think that they'll have to maybe switch over to different avenues of advertising? Or do you feel like they're going to kind of like do it until they're forced with like customers not coming in?
I would say just like everything, the media and the way that people consume stuff and just like the methods of consumption are always going to be changing. So they kind of have to adapt. obviously everyone dies at the end of the day. So these spokespeople and who they are may not be around forever. So they may have to shift to a different form of spokesmanship, distribution, or even just kind of marketing methods.
Yeah.
I mean, in the future, people talk about omni-channel marketing, which is basically the idea of being able to market to anybody from nearly every touch point possible. So whether it's at home, in a car, on the airplane, on the bus, just like you never know. So Allstate is in the D tier in our opinion. This is based off of how much they spend. Another fun fact is that Dean Winters, is that his name? Mm-hmm. He earns around $4 million annually, it seems like.
So not a bad gig. I would do it too what does he say? Allstate. What is he?
You're in good hands, right?
You're in good hands. I can't go that way. Can you?
No, I won't try. Okay. But they are in the D tier in our opinion, just based off of how much they spend. They spend quite a bit of money in their marketing efforts. Their policy prices are, I wouldn't say they're the worst, but they're not the cheapest.
No.
Good coverage, high price policies. If you have, I'm sure they have the bundling deals and discounts that everybody does. Yes. But at the end of the day, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. And if they're marketing to you every single moment of the day and you just see them all the time, it kind of gets annoying. So D tier, Allstate.
Awesome. So now we get to go into the C tier. The first one that we have is Progressive. They spend around $1.73 billion every year on advertising. Your favorite, Flo from Progressive, makes around $1 million a year, and she started in 2008. So, hey, she's probably made a big chunk of change. We found out that her counterpart, what's his name? Jamie. Yeah. He makes about $500,000 annually. So, he'll get there.
Yeah. Flo does make more. I definitely think she deserves it.
Definitely. She's been there forever.
She's been there for a long time, and she's definitely created the personality that Progressive stands very strong on today.
I do like, I like working with them. That's my current agency so far. They are affordable, I feel like. And so far, they've been really nice. I will find out in a couple of days what happens with that one thing I was talking about earlier. Not the one in 2020, but my glass. And we'll see if they'll retro pay me back. It's fine if they don't. It was my bad because I did it wrong. But they're good. I mean, that's why they're in C tier. Like, they don't necessarily exuberantly. Excuse me, sorry, Mike. They don't exuberantly spend or overspend. They're not quite the most like saving people, but
yeah, and they at the end of the day, I had Progressive too at one point, and they do. Oh, actually, no. I'm trying to remember if these were the guys that screwed us over.
Oh no!
When it came to ride sharing, so like you just have to be careful in terms of reading your policy and how expensive the policies can be based off of the things that you do. So whether it's you do something out of your policy, which is possible. Mm-hmm. So like if you have car insurance and you try to do like Uber Eats or like Uber delivery or the Uber rideshare thing, you have to have a specific policy in your insurance to cover that part as well. Mm-hmm. And if you do anything outside of that before getting it, it is not covered. Makes sense.
Yeah.
At the same time, my big problem is that a lot of insurance companies basically know that people are going to do things out of their policy, and without essentially giving them a warning, they kind of let them do it. And then when something happens,
the fine print. It's always the fine print.
It's always the fine print.
They are banking on you not reading the fine print.
Yeah.
That's why it's tiny.
Yep.
All right. Now let's talk about the Geico.
The lizard. Tell us a little bit about Geico.
I personally have never had it, but my family did. It was okay, I think, for what it was. Most of these companies, they don't do anything extra. They either have a bundle option or they have Snapshot. I think that might be.
I think that's State Farm.
Is that? Is it?
Or no, that's a Drive Safe program, is State Farm.
Yeah. There's one insurance company, or they have like, if you can prove, you can like attach certain monitors onto your car. I think that was Liberty Mutual. I think Liberty Mutual has a snapshot thing where you can put it on your car, and that could lower it if you can prove for like, I think it's a week or something.
Yeah.
Progressive, sorry, I didn't mention this earlier. Progressive has a 6-month reward program.
The Drive Safe program.
Yeah. So, but Geico, let's see, what did we say about Geico? Geico spends about $2 billion in annual spending every year. They are heavy, and I mean heavy, in TV, radio, and online channels, making it the largest advertiser in car insurance market ever. And they are also the ones that also don't cover Alaska or Hawaii, by the way.
Yeah.
But it's they do take on a lot of drivers, so I can only assume that it's because they don't want that drain of those 2 states. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, and well, what I kind of was reading earlier and what I got for our notes for today is that like Geico, they tend, from our research, they tend to be more upfront about their pricing and their claims process than most people. They do get quite a bit of claims compliments about their customer support and their claim process. So how long it takes, how clunky it is, or how I guess people just aren't happy with that. But overall, they do excel in pricing and convenience. And a lot of people may lack the faith in the responsiveness of their claims, because what we found out is that with how much marketing they actually get quite a bit of new clients pretty often. And with the growth of their clientele, they actually struggle when it comes to responding and being able to be responsive and a good insurance company.
That's funny.
Yeah. So their marketing is basically helping them, but also hurting them.
Imagine being so good at something, it's actually bad for you.
Yep. And some customers actually feel misled by the 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance, because it does not take 15 minutes to get car insurance.
When has it ever taken 15 minutes?
Yeah. So if you've ever fell for that trick, I'm sorry. You lost 2 hours of your time.
Catchy.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I get what they're saying, where it's like you can sit down, look online, see what your options are. It could probably be about 15 minutes to save it. I get that. But when it comes to actually getting your insurance, that does not take 15 minutes.
They're insinuating that you're going to look on their website for 15 minutes and be like, okay. And then take the additional 2 hours to do it.
Yeah, and another talking point that that can be brought up is that Geico tends to underprice coverage, leading to frustrations when customers need to file claims for more expensive repairs or more extensive repairs. So if you total your entire car, there's a reason why they won't get you a new car, because they don't got the money for it.
It's going to the
the lizard. But at the end of the day, the rapid customer growth and expansion through aggressive marketing sometimes causes issues with their consistent service. So where does that put them, Maya?
A big old C.
Big old C. Sorry, guys. You should probably cut down on the marketing. Probably do better price policies and higher payouts.
Yeah.
Okay, we're moving our way up to B tier. So these are the ones that you guys want to listen for and you guys want to get. These are the companies that should be there for us, and they should be protecting us as they claim, but we'll find out, right?
Exactly. So first in B tier, we have State Farm. Now, State Farm's whole thing is local agents, local representations, local families, local. And with that local in mind, they spent about $1 billion trying to prove that. They heavily invested in the local advertising. It is one of the largest car insurance company that by market share with around 16%. So if you have State Farm, you're in the majority. They do spend a lot.
So the problem with that one is that they essentially do accept a lot of payouts and they do process a lot of claims, but it's the way they handle it, the time it takes, and how much you actually get at the end of the day.
Have you had personal experience with them at all? So
I did have State Farm for one of my first insurance carriers when I was about 18 or 19. The one thing I did like, and that I think a lot of people do like, and why they have such a big market share, is that I worked with a local agent. I worked with somebody that I could go see, somebody I could talk to, and someone that I could at least blame for any insurance issues in the future.
You had a face to a problem.
Yeah. Whereas if you're dealing with Geico, what do you yell at a lizard and call online?
I mean, shit, I might.
Progressive, you're going to call online as well. And yeah, it's just a lot of agents aren't readily available in your local area unless it comes to State Farm.
Yeah, I do see a lot of like little buildings and like little like it's like pockets of State Farm local, and then they have the little name of who it is, and it does feel very personal and very nice.
What people need to realize is that the more money that these people are spending on marketing typically means that their policies are going to be higher priced because their overhead for their company and the way that they run are a lot more expensive than the lower insurance companies.
Yes.
We would hope that the higher price policies would give you better payouts and more consistent and better coverage, but that's not always the case.
And I do believe that they do try and make up for the fact with the whole local agent, personal touch, human person, which a lot of people put a lot of value on, and it is why they are in our B rank.
For the shadiness.
For the shadiness.
So you can get State Farm in terms of reliability.
Yeah.
In terms of price, it's not going to be the cheapest, but it is going to be reliable because there's either your local agent, another representative, or you can always hit up corporate. So at the end of the day, if you're looking for insurance that's reliable and that you can afford and depend on, State Farm can be a good option for you. We only had one in our B tier.
Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't really messing with these guys. We kind of were pretty strict on them.
Very.
And I'm actually surprised we pushed State Farm up there, but compared to the other ones that we had on our list, they...
Oh, shoot.
What?
When we said that Geico does not cover Hawaii, it does cover Hawaii. Geico is the most popular in Hawaii.
Well, we didn't say that one about Geico specifically. You were just bringing up that there's some insurance companies that don't cover.
I think I said Geico.
If you were watching earlier and Maja said Geico doesn't cover Hawaii, she was wrong.
Yeah, I was so wrong. So wrong.
Sorry. And A tier for us is basically, I guess, the insurance company that we felt more comfortable seeing people sign up for.
Yeah, and they just had a more respectful spending budget.
So ding, 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 American Family Insurance will go into A tier. Okay, so fun facts about and details on American Family Insurance. So American Family Insurance spends around $350 million annually on advertising, putting them among the larger mid-tier insurance spenders. The strategy for them is focusing on family, community, and trust, often featuring real-life stories of families overcoming difficulties with the help of their insurance. So kind of what we talked about earlier, how they're really banking on the hedonic approach of marketing when it comes to selling you insurance.
Grandma has American Family.
Yeah. Their messaging revolves around being there for the life's biggest moments, which resonates with a wide audience, particularly homeowners and families. So when you are buying your home and you are thinking about, I guess, life insurance, car coverage, home insurance, American Family typically, and their name has it for a reason. Their logo even pretty sure even has like a little house thing.
Uh-huh.
And they really do lean into family oriented.
Really tapping into that.
Yeah, for family oriented approaches. So they're really wanting to bank on the fact that you love your family and you want to protect them, protect your family.
Imagine watching one of their advertisements and you just have a really bad relationship. Be like, where's that lizard?
Exactly. So if you do look at American Family overall, they're really traditional in the way that they sell stuff and the way that they market, and they're not using any crazy flashy approaches where they have to convince you with mascots or with high profile celebrities and thinking that you have the same insurance as Patrick Mahomes. Like they're really banking on classic, I would say, American values, which is family and being safe.
Yes.
And
security.
And with that being the case, you have to give them some benefit of the doubt that they aren't as shady or deceptive as other people that are having to convince you to buy something that you hate, which is insurance.
And with having such a large pool of people that they serve, with how much or how little relatively to the other companies that have spent in marketing, that is a sure sign to show that they do have retention. They do have customers that do respect and like their services.
Yeah. And I even went and I pulled, we used our our analyst, Sage/GPT here. And she was actually putting American Family in the middle of the pack for shadiness.
Oh.
And this is what she is saying. She's saying, well, American Family doesn't have as many headline-making controversies as the larger companies, but has still faced heavy criticism for handling claims poorly, especially in complex or high-value claims. But my flip side to that is specifically what it says, which is complex and high-value claims. We're not talking about your classic fender bender here where Geico doesn't want to pay that out, or General wants to be like, well, who did what, right?
Right.
They're talking, I'm sure they're talking about floods, hit and runs, thefts, destruction of property.
Something
and
that has like a police report attached and like investigation.
Something really intense. And that's kind of a given. So S tier ranking is who is on the top of the food chain right now. Again, this is Maja's and I's opinion based off of the research that we've done, but it seems to be that
USAA
is top dog right
is the best, apparently. Allegedly. Things are subject to change at any moment.
Okay.
But USAA, they have the most, not the most niche, I wouldn't say the most niche, but they have a very, very defined niche market, and that is your veterans and their families. They rely heavily, and I emphasize heavily on that connection, because that you can't have it otherwise. You can't have USAA unless you are a veteran. Is that correct?
Correct.
So they are the ones who they're targeting. Their commercials are very family, emotion, patriotism, all the good stuff. And they spend about, I think, 300 million?
300 million in advertising every year.
Yes, which is really good. I think that's pretty decent. I mean, marketing is a lot of money. A lot of stuff goes into producing commercials, from actors, makeup, hair.
100%.
Being on that side of it, it's a lot of working cogs. There's assistants to assistants. There's producers. There's creative directors. There's script writers, there's accuracy maker, people who like make sure everything is working well. There's just so much. And so, I mean, for 300 million for what they do and how much they spend and what they bring, I think it's a good balance.
Yeah. So USAA is generally well regarded, particularly for the target market of military members, as Maja was saying, and family members. They actually have very few scandals and controversies in comparison to many major insurance companies and other corporations that provide insurance. However, just like the last guys, they are in the same water as people that are having to complain about complex and high. What is it called? The high. Whatever the word I said earlier was.
High payout, high value.
Yes.
That thing.
So basically, complex claims and issues are something that I feel like every insurance company is going to have to struggle with. So at the end of the day, that's just people being unhappy with their.
And it's also like, if you haven't dealt with something like that and you only have a certain expertise level, you might not have like the best people working, and it might be one of those cases that just, doesn't get resolved well because they just haven't had that happen before.
Exactly. And so you don't have to necessarily worry about USAA not being able to help you out. It's just there's always something new, right?
Well, and you also have to have served your country.
Yeah. That's the other thing too.
Or marry into it.
And yeah, totally. But overall, they are seen as one of the most reliable and least shady companies on the market today, largely due to their niche customer base and the focus on the service over the marketing.
Yeah.
They actually spend less than everybody on our entire list, and they have some of the highest customer satisfaction rates out in the market today.
Very nice.
So I think that's a worthy stance and position to be in our S tier.
It is the golden standard.
And there were a couple honorable mentions that we didn't mention that are, at the end of the day, I guess, in S tier.
Yeah, there's some. But they're not quite USAA.
Yeah, and I think one of them is limited to only 48 states. So, like an honorable mention that Maja found was Amica. So Amica Insurance, they are.
Oh, I think it's Amica.
Amica. I'm sorry.
Amica or Amica? I think it's Amica. Like America.
Yeah.
Amica.
Let's say Amica.
I can YouTube it really fast.
Well, Amica is spending, if you want to, yeah.
Okay.
Amica is spending around $100 million annually and relies more on customer satisfaction and word of mouth. But they do only operate in 48 states, so that means their claims pool is going to be smaller than somebody that would operate in 50 states. So based off of that, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're better or worse. They could be right in the ballpark of where USAA, American Family, and Farmers lies. The second honorable mention would be Farmers Insurance. I have personally dealt with them a little bit, and they are known as reliable and trustworthy, but their the prices aren't the best. They can be pretty spendy, just like most insurance companies, and it really depends on what you can afford and what you're trying to cover. But Farmers is spending around $600 million annually on advertising alone. They are known for two big things, which is J.K. Simmons and his role in the company, and then the celebrity endorsements that come along with them. And Farmers has also embraced the humor in their commercials that showcase humor in insurance.
It's Amica.
Amica?
Yeah.
So who was right?
You were right.
Oh, nice.
Roberto was right. That's why he's the co-host.
Yeah, but it looks like insurance companies are something that I'm still not happy to deal with, but I know we all have to have insurance at the end of the day until that changes. So if you guys want to vote for that, go ahead and put in your legislation in your local state. But yeah, that's besides the point.
That's the entire point, to show you that no matter what, it's all about just making sure that you know exactly what is being put in front of you. It's the marketing, it's the commercials about with the celebrities. It's all that stuff that is being used to drive you towards a certain company so that they can sell you a certain product that you need. If you know exactly what they're trying to do, you as the consumer are then able to make a better decision, to inform yourself, to look past the fluff, to see what is truly there, what they truly offer, if they're actually a good fit for you. Yeah.
And the reason why we picked marketing spend for this ranking system was because that's how you see these companies.
Yes.
Whether they are good or not, a lot of people that I've talked to about insurance and that I have personally, my own personal opinion about it is that I know I haven't done enough research from what I see on the computers and online versus what is actually in their policy.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to read your policy. You have to read the terms and conditions. And while some spend millions on marketing and they may seem trustworthy, it doesn't always point to that direction. Like we said, a USAA does spend the least in marketing annually, and they seem to be the most trustworthy. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Maja, about the insurance company specifically?
I think we said everything that was wanting to be said.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think we got everything. In the next episodes, we're going to try and focus on some submission-based stuff. So if you have any sort of scam story related to you or a loved one that you would like to share with us, please, please, please go ahead and DM the Shady Business Podcast on Instagram, or I don't know where else they would put something.
The Instagram.
The Instagram only.
Yeah, just reach out to us on the Instagram just to keep it all in one place.
Yes, please.
So, yeah, and again, this episode and most of our episodes are always going to be about just getting you guys information so that way we can have the information at our disposal and you guys can make better decisions based off of what you want to buy, things you want to do. Mm-hmm. And so like today's topic was insurance companies.
Exactly.
Everyone deals with insurance, and if you guys have any insurance stories or other questions about it, we could do a future episode and cover that stuff. But as of right now, that is our ranking list for U.S. insurance companies and their marketing spend.
That's right. I hope you learned something. And if you didn't, I hope you laughed.
A little bit,
if anything. A little bit.
But next week, join us for another episode. We will talk about who knows what, some more shady stuff. We want to talk about banks. And what did you suggest? There's this pop-up crumble cookie in Sydney, Australia. So did you hear about this? Mm-mm. So apparently there were these super fans of crumble that went to the US, bought around $1,000 worth of cookies, imported them to Sydney, Australia, created a pop-up, pretended to be crumble, but on their site they said they were crumble inspired, but they used all of the marketing, all of the recognizable logos, and sold the cookies that they imported for, I shit you not, $17
per cookie, per
What?
one cookie. And these cookies were stale. These cookies were old.
Yeah, if
They were, yeah, exactly. And so now all these people on TikTok are going around showing their little taste tests and talking about how it's gross and whatever. And yeah, that's what I want to talk about.
Okay. Well, it looks like we will be talking about cookies soon.
I know, I'm so excited.
But thanks again for hanging out with us, guys. Subscribe, follow, let us know what you liked, what you didn't like. We'll kind of changing the format just a little bit here and there every week. But yeah, thanks again. I'm Roberto.
My name is Maya, and this has been the Shady Business Podcast. Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much for watching. I am your host, Maya. If you want to follow along for any updates, please follow me on Instagram at Shady Business Podcast. If you'd like to follow along with everything else, follow SB Studios, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. This podcast was produced in partnership with SB Studios.